In October 2021, India took delivery of the S-400, Russia's most advanced air defense system. American law demands sanctions for exactly that purchase. Washington gave India a pass. Weeks later, Indian and American soldiers were training together in the Himalayas. One country buying Russian weapons and running American war games in the same season. Every superpower wants India on its side. India has decided that sides are for other people. You're watching BBTV Intelligence Briefing. Today's question: how does one country buy Russian weapons, join American alliances, fight China on its border, and somehow stay friends with everyone? So here's the balancing act right now. India is the world's largest importer of weapons, and it buys from everyone: Russian jets and air defense, French fighters, American drones and helicopters, Israeli missiles. Roughly half its arsenal is still Russian origin, a dependency built over 50 years that cannot be unwound in 5. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the West sanctioned Moscow's oil. India bought it at a discount. It became one of Russia's biggest crude buyers almost overnight, saving billions. Some of that oil comes back to the West, refined in Indian facilities and sold on legally as Indian diesel. And while all that happens, India sits in the Quad, the Indo-Pacific security grouping with America, Japan, and Australia. It runs more joint military exercises with the United States than almost any other country. American tech giants are moving supply chains to Indian factories. Washington is sharing jet engine technology it shares with almost no one. Nobody else gets all of this at once. Russian weapons, Western technology, discounted oil, alliance-grade exercises. Any other country would have been forced to choose by now. India's entire foreign policy is built on never letting that happen. The question is, how long the world's most dangerous decade will let it last? The refusal to choose isn't a tactic, it's a founding principle. India was born out of empire, and its first generation of leaders swore never to serve another one. In the Cold War, while the world sorted itself into blocs, India co-founded a third path: the non-aligned movement. Alignment, its founders argued, was just colonialism with better manners. But principles met geography in 1962, when China attacked across the Himalayan border and India lost, badly. The humiliation never faded. The border was never settled. It still isn't. In 1971, during the Bangladesh War, Washington tilted toward Pakistan and sent an aircraft carrier into the Bay of Bengal. India answered by signing a friendship treaty with Moscow. The distrust of America lasted a generation. For the next 30 years, Soviet steel filled Indian arsenals. Then the Cold War ended, India's economy opened, and everything began to shift. America started courting the democracy it had once sanctioned. A nuclear deal in 2008 broke the ice, and China kept pressing the border. In 2020, in the Galwan Valley, Indian and Chinese soldiers fought hand-to-hand at 14,000 feet, the first deaths on that border in 45 years. 2 nuclear powers fighting with clubs and fists because both knew a single gunshot could mean war. Here's what most coverage misses. India isn't failing to choose a side. Refusing to choose is the strategy, and so far, it's working. India's strategy has a name now: multi-alignment. Its foreign minister put it bluntly: India is entitled to its own side, its own. The logic is cold and simple. In a world splitting into blocs, the biggest prize is the one country both blocs need. From Washington's view, India is the only democracy with the size to balance China in Asia. 1.5 billion people, the world's largest military manpower pool, and the geography that commands the Indian Ocean. So Washington keeps paying the entry fee, technology transfers, defense deals, sanctions waivers. From Moscow's view, India is the last great customer, and proof Russia isn't isolated. From Beijing's view, India is the neighbor that must never fully join the other side, which means all three powers court India, and all three subsidize its independence. India banks the benefits: cheap energy, weapons from every shelf, investment from every bloc, and a veto on Asia's balance of power. The risks are just as real: dependence on Russian spare parts, a two-front border, and partners who all want more than India will give. Multi-alignment works brilliantly in peacetime. Its unsolved problem is the day the blocs stop competing and start shooting, because on that day, both stops being an option. And this is where it stops being about diplomacy. It becomes a question about whether independence can survive a dependency. Technology: India is the only country on Earth operating Russian air defense alongside American jet engine technology. Each side has to trust that its secrets won't leak across India's own hangars to the other. That trust is priced in. Some of America's most sensitive systems are still withheld. Economics: the oil trade is the quiet masterpiece. India buys discounted Russian crude, refines it, and sells products into markets that sanctioned the original barrel. Everyone knows it's all legal, and it keeps global fuel prices lower, which is why nobody truly wants it stopped. People, a diaspora of millions, threads through Silicon Valley boardrooms, Gulf economies, and Western governments. Demography does the rest. The world's largest population, median age under 30. Every projection of the century's economy runs through that fact. Intelligence: the border with China is now a permanent sensor war. Both sides build roads, airstrips, and villages at altitudes where machines fail and lungs burn. 60,000 troops face each other across ground where the maps themselves are the dispute. And here's the quiet fact under it all: if that border ever erupts, India's arsenal runs on Russian spares, and Russia now runs on Chinese goodwill. India's oldest supplier answers increasingly to India's main adversary. That is the crack in the whole design. One layer deeper, and the question isn't whether India can keep balancing. It's what happens to everyone else's war plans if it can. So, can the balancing act survive what's coming? India is racing to fix its one fatal dependency, building its own jets, its own submarines, its own shells. Its Russian import share is falling every year. That trend is the single most important number in Asian geopolitics. Meanwhile, Washington keeps sweetening. Co-production deals, technology corridors, intelligence sharing. And Beijing keeps reminding: patrols, incursions, dams on shared rivers, ports ringing the Indian Ocean. The encirclement has a name in Delhi: the String of Pearls. Watch 3 signals. How fast India's Russian arms share falls. That's the countdown clock on Moscow's leverage. Whether the Quad ever gains teeth, a formal commitment would mean India finally chose. And what Delhi does in the first week of a Taiwan crisis, because that week will reveal what all the ambiguity was for. The last time the world split into blocks, India sat out and stayed poor. This time, it intends to referee and get rich. Whether the 21st century allows referees, that's the bet. India isn't neutral. It's on its own side. And both superpowers keep paying for the privilege of hoping that changes. Whether that lasts the decade is one of the biggest open questions in geopolitics. This has been BBTV Intelligence Briefing. Stay sharp.